Welcome to the Inside Scoop. We are live from Nashville, Tennessee. Today is Wednesday, August 6th. As always, I am your host, Josh Newberg. Thank you all for being here. We got a lot of recruiting to talk about. Also, we're going to take you inside a couple fall camps, get some inside intel from the experts. But first, do me a favor, hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. Tell me where you guys are watching from. Fall camp is here. The season, it's almost here. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube, so jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, we got a big show today. We're going to be talking the Florida Gators, Auburn Tigers. We're going to get into some top uncommitted blue chip recruits. We got a big show. Let's get to it. All right. As you can see, the top 10 rankings are here. I'm about to give you some intel that could shift these rankings all over the place, but this is where it stands today as we get ready to head into the season. The Trojans, they are manning that top spot. Now, they've slipped a little bit out. I don't think they've fallen further than 3 or 4, and currently they've been holding it down for the last couple weeks. Georgia in there too. Oregon, Notre Dame with an excellent class, and they could be adding more. We're about to talk about it. You got Texas A&M and Texas at 5 and 6, then Alabama, LSU, Ohio State could add another 5-star before it's all said and done, and then Miami. Miami's one of those programs that was hanging outside the top 10 for much of the summer, but they currently find themselves inside the top 10, and they're looking for more. So let's take a look at some of the remaining uncommitted blue chip recruits inside the top 200. So of the top 200 recruits, how many do you think are uncommitted? Nope. That's the wrong answer too. 8 recruits in the top 200 are still uncommitted as we head out of August. So let's start with 5-star running back Savion Hyder. August 19th. He's got a decision date. It's set. It's down to UGA, Michigan, Ohio State, and Tennessee. He's the number 8 ranked player in the country, the number 1 ranked running back in America. Savion Hyder's coming off the board, and I think there's 2 teams to watch right now. It's Michigan and it's Tennessee. I think Ohio State and Georgia, while they got him on campus, I think they're on the outside looking in of that top 10, of that top 2, I'm sorry. And of Michigan, Tennessee, I'm leaning Michigan. You guys tell me, where are you leaning when it comes to Savion Hyder? All right, up next, we got another 5-star. There's only 3 5-stars uncommitted right now. Braylon Womack's going to come off the board a couple days after Savion Hyder. And Braylon Womack will be off the board on August 22nd. You got Auburn, you got Florida, you got Ohio State and Texas A&M. He's number 21 overall, number 3 safety in the Rivals industry rankings. Now, Braylon Womack is a heavy lean to Ohio State, and I'd really say he has been since middle of the spring. But you hear a lot of noise right now about Auburn. I think of the schools on the outside looking in, you got Auburn, UF, and A&M. If anybody's going to upset Ohio State on August 22nd, I think it's going to be the Auburn Tigers. All right, now we got another 5-star here. 5-star interior offensive lineman Darius Gray. He's number 31 overall, so just inside that 5-star ranking at number 31. 32 is the cutoff. He's the number 1 ranked interior offensive lineman. And the teams battling for him include Clemson, LSU, Ohio State, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Now, let's break this down a little bit further. I think LSU is probably the team to beat heading towards that August 22nd decision. I think South Carolina and Tennessee should be watched heavily, but I like where LSU sits right now. You guys tell me what you think. All right, moving on. 4-star edge Jake Krell, to be announced when he's going to make a decision, but I think it could be soon. We'll see if he takes it in the fall. He would be the last top 100 uncommitting, barring some decommitment down the road somewhere. But Jake Krell is looking at Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and Texas. I really think maybe Oklahoma the team to beat here, but I'd always watch Texas in this battle for the number 8 ranked edge in America. All right. 4-star wide receiver Davian Gross. He's expected to come off the board soon. Soon could be this weekend. It could be next week. We'll see. He's hinted at a decision soon. That's all we got. Number 60 overall, number 6 ranked wide receiver in America. So top 10 at his position. We got Baylor, we got UF, we got Houston and Oklahoma. And right now, I'd give the edge to the Sooners. All right, 4-star wide receiver Jace Matthews. He comes off the board August 9th. Now, if you go by the Rivals industry rankings, he's number 83 in the country, number 9 at the position, but Rivals has him a bit higher, number 2 ranked wide receiver in America. Either way, he's an elite wide receiver out of the state of Mississippi, and he's making his decision August 9th. Yes, that August 9th, this Friday, and it's going to come down to Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. And right now, Auburn's not recruiting all that well when it comes to the entirety of the class ranking, but they are the team to beat when it comes to the number 2 ranked wide receiver in the Rivals rankings, Jace Matthews. If there's a team that could upset him between now and Friday, I think it would be the LSU Tigers. All right, 4-star athlete, CJ Sadler. He's going to come off the board August 15th, number 123 overall, so inside that 150. He's the number 6 ranked athlete in America. You got Colorado, Maryland, Michigan, and UNC. Now, Michigan and UNC really putting together great classes. Maryland has Zion Ely committed, already got a 5-star in the boat. And Colorado seems like they're just trying to get some momentum started, and I think CJ Sadler could do it for the Buffs. Right now, I'm probably leaning Colorado when it comes to the number 6 athlete in America. All right, the last of the 8. There's only 8 in the top 200 uncommitted, and we come to 4-star defensive lineman Elijah Golden, number 191 overall, but I feel like his recruitment, just the priority that these programs are making him, I feel like they're recruiting him above his ranking, if that makes sense. Elijah Golden has Alabama, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Virginia Tech as his finalists, and right now, we talked a lot, in those rankings, I said Notre Dame has an excellent class, and all they really need is one more elite D lineman. And right now, I like them where they stand for Elijah Golden. I mean, how could they not? His last name's Golden. Go to Notre Dame. You guys let me know. How are you feeling about these uncommitted 4-star and 5-star recruits inside the top 200? These are the final top 200 recruits to come off the board. Before we get to decommit season, before we get to flip season, yeah, I know there's probably going to be others inside the top 200 that become available, but right now, there's only these 8. You guys let me know. Where do you think they land? Am I right? Am I wrong? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. Talk a little Florida Gator football. We got Zach Albaverdi here with Gators Online, and I want to have you on, talk a little 5-star recruits on campus. What's the insider buzz on some of these freshmen? And moments before you came on, you broke some news on Dallas Wilson, the 5-star wide receiver out of Tampa. He's on campus. He's been looking good. What's the word?
Yeah, he has been looking good, Scott. And I had reported earlier in camp that Dallas Wilson was actually repping with the starters. So some big developments there the first week of camp. But unfortunately, he has had an injury setback. According to our sources, he is currently sidelined with a lower leg injury. And he's expected to be out about a couple weeks. So that's certainly a bummer, not just for him, but their wide receiver room in general, because they got a couple guys down. But certainly, Dallas, this is big camp for him, being able to get reps with the ones, and certainly not being able to move forward and have some scrimmages is disappointing.
Yeah, and there's also been some news about former 5-star quarterback DJ Lagway. He was seen in a boot a couple weeks ago, but now it seems like he's doing better.
Yeah, he's another guy that obviously has been in the headlines and people monitoring his injury status. He did have a setback at the start of camp, like you mentioned, Josh, had a calf injury during a team run right before they reported for practices. So he missed the first couple days. He did some throwing in the indoor facility on last Friday for the first time really all offseason in like a practice setting. And then on Saturday, it was an open practice to the media and some Florida Victorious members, and we got to see him actually let it fly in team drills for the first time. He didn't participate in the whole practice. He is still a little bit limited. He's not 100% yet, but he's back in practice. He's with his guys. Just this past Tuesday, I saw him going through the viewing period, and he uncorked a 50-yard bomb to J. Michael Sturdivant. So definitely seems like the arm strength hasn't gone anywhere, and it's important that Florida's got him back now in the fold.
Yeah, that was the talk of the spring, but DJ Lagway is out there. You've seen him uncork one. It's going to be okay. And DJ Lagway is going to be great this season. All right. We talked so much on this channel about Cormani McClain's recruitment, about his flips, about his transfer portal saga, but it seems like he's settled in now in Gainesville. What's his outlook?
He has. He's a guy that has really got this whole offseason, Josh, to work with the starting defense. Dijon Johnson, another one of their top cornerbacks, has been limited all offseason. First it was in the spring. Now he's out of training camp. He's in a non-contact jersey. So that means that Cormani is getting all the work with the starting defense, which is huge for him. He's really bulked up. Since he transferred to UF from Colorado, he's put on almost 30 pounds. That's right. He's put on almost 30 pounds.
Damn.
He arrived at 162 pounds, and he's currently listed on the roster at 189. He added 8 pounds just this summer. So he's bulked up. He's gotten himself into SEC size, and then certainly he's got the opportunity now with all these reps in front of him, and he's 100% going to have a bigger role this year. He's on scholarship now at the University of Florida, and they need him to be a big player in their secondary.
Yeah, it seems like the noise is quieted down around him. He's been able to buy in. He's added weight. Like you said, I've seen some photos. He looks incredible. So now all he's got to do is go out and play some football. We know he can do that. All right, let's talk a little bit about defensive lineman L.J. McCray. At the time that he was talked about on this channel, he's one of the most coveted linemen, not only in the state of Florida, but the entire country. And L.J. McCray, I wouldn't say he had a disappointing freshman year, but I also wouldn't say he had a breakout freshman year. What's the outlook for him, and what are you hearing from fall camp?
Yeah, really, this is his opportunity to kind of take that next step, Josh. He's moved to the jack outside linebacker position, which is one of their edge spots. Requires him to be a little bit more athletic, have some responsibilities in coverage, rush the passer a little bit more standing up. And those are all things that they feel like he can do really well. He's kind of transformed his body a little bit in the offseason to be more durable, to have more stamina. He even took up boxing with some of his teammates in the edge room just to improve himself heading into the season. So he's going to have a much bigger role. I think that he'll be, probably starter 1A and B with George Gums Jr., those two guys kind of manning the jack position. And I will say, though, since we're talking about freshmen and stuff, and we're talking about 5 stars, this guy wasn't a 5-star, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention right here on your show that Jaden Woods is a guy that is generating so much buzz as a true freshman. It started in the spring. It's continued into training camp. I mentioned Dallas Wilson working with the starters on offense, freshman. Jaden Woods has been working as a starter on defense, and he plays that same spot as L.J. McCray. I think both of those guys you're gonna see have bigger roles this year.
That's great, seeing some of these freshmen come in and fill key roles. Now, you mentioned that Dallas Wilson is going to be out for some time. There's some other freshman wide receivers on that roster that can play. Could you see a guy like Vernell Brown getting some more playing time because of this?
Yeah, our guy Vernell Brown announced on the On3 show, of course. He's a guy that certainly is going to have that opportunity, Josh. He was already getting a lot of reps with the starters in the spring. In fact, he played with the first team unit in the spring game, and he's a guy that's got some position flexibility. He can play in the slot. He can play the Z position, which is where Eugene Wilson, Aiden Mizell have played in the past. And right now, both of those guys that I just mentioned, Mizell and Eugene Wilson, are out right now in non-contact jerseys. So between those two, Dallas Wilson, Khalil Jackson is also not practicing still from his season-ending injury last year. So Vernell Brown is going to have every opportunity to not just start as a freshman, but make some big contributions to this offense. I think Nashawn Montgomery is going to have an opportunity to have a role as well, and some of those other young receivers. But, Vernell Brown, the highest guy rated in their 2025 class according to the On3 industry rankings, definitely expect him to be an impact freshman.
Yeah, we had a blast covering these guys as recruits, so it's great to hear about them now on the roster, making plays just like we thought they would. Gator fans, go check out Gators Online. Zach and the boys do a phenomenal job covering the team, and right now they just covered practice number 7, so a ton of intel on the front page. Go check it out. Let's talk a little Auburn recruiting because the Tigers' summer is coming to an end, but there's 2 mega recruiting battles that we're going to get to see the end of in about 2 to 3 weeks. So we got Cole Pinkston on from Auburn Live. We're going to talk some recruiting, but Cole, you've been out at practice. So since I got you on, let's check in on some of these former 5-stars. Let's start at the quarterback position. Big battle. You got Jackson Arnold, former 5-star, Deuce Knight, former 5-star, and then Ashton Daniels, the transfer in. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I've seen all three. Seen a lot of snaps from all three. I really I like the arms of Jackson Arnold and Deuce Knight. I think both of those guys have extreme arm talent, and I would say are a touch above Ashton Daniels in that regard. Man, Jackson Arnold is the starter. I feel pretty good about that. I mean, I feel great about it.
Mm-hmm.
But watch out for Deuce Knight. This guy's young, but he doesn't look young. He doesn't look like a freshman. He looks like he's been there before. He's sharp on his throws. I mean, I saw him. He had a drive, I guess, in a team drill where 4 or 5 throws were on the money, and he was in a rhythm. They were going fast. Just looks like he's been there before. So, it's hard to look past him right now. I mean, Ashton Daniels has played a lot of football, but could Deuce be your backup guy? I think that's possible. But everybody I talk to about Jackson Arnold, there's nothing you watch him and you go, okay, he looks good. I think he'll look better when they can actually go live because he's a runner, But everybody's confident that he's got everything under control. He's operating the offense like they want him to.
Yeah, well, that's really exciting news, especially about Deuce Knight, not just for this year, but moving forward as well. So, this roster's riddled with them. There's 5 stars everywhere you look. So who else is making noise early in these practices out on the plains?
Yeah, well, you have to point straight to Cam Coleman, former 5-star plus, I believe he was.
Yeah,
Josh. He looks like a pro. He just looks like a pro. He had a big freshman season. Came on late, had a lot of receiving yards, a couple touchdowns at the end of the year. Came into his own, had some mistakes early on, actually, some drops, things, but you expect that from a freshman. As a sophomore, I mean, he is – I'm doing a power ranking. Like, to me, he is above and beyond everybody, maybe besides Eric Singleton, who was a big portal get. But just as far as route running, hands, body control, everything is exactly what you want it to be. He's got the size, he's got the speed. I think he's, sub 4.4 or 4.3 in that range.
Yeah.
Just the total package, 5-star plus was absolutely on the money with him.
Absolutely. So we're fired up about what we're seeing out on the practice field. But like I said, there's 2 major recruitments that are going to come to an end. One of them is this Friday. 4-star wide receiver from Mississippi, Jace Matthews. Rivals has him a little bit higher. We have him as our number 2 ranked wide receiver. He's a top 10 wide receiver in the Rivals industry rankings, but sounding good for Auburn. I know, nothing's good until pen hits paper, but this commitment coming up on Friday, it sounds like Auburn's the team to beat.
I think so, Josh. I mean, recruiting coverage is so much fun right now, right? It's hard to pinpoint things. It's hard to put predictions in. I actually joined my coworker Jeffrey Lee in putting in an RPM prediction for Auburn for Jace Matthews. Feel pretty good about Auburn's stance there. It seems like LSU might be the next team after Auburn, or the biggest threat to Auburn. It was Texas A&M at one time. I'm hearing more LSU, but there's confidence coming from inside Auburn, Auburn's football facility on Jace Matthews. I think the investment they're making in Jace Matthews is big. I don't know if Auburn's going to go and get another big-time receiver like Cedarian Morgan, some guys they were in on early. I think they're putting all their chips in on Jace Matthews, and that's part of the reason why I have some confidence.
All right, so that one's on Friday. Then about 2 weeks later, 5-star safety Braylon Womack, also from the state of Mississippi, he's going to make his decision. And if Auburn is the front runner for Jace Matthews, I kind of feel like they're the dark horse here for Braylon Womack. What's your sense?
Dark horse is fair. Ohio State's been the one. I think he named Ohio State his leader at one point after a visit. And some people maybe chalk that up to visit high. But then he has an awesome visit at Auburn. Now, he's got a sister at Auburn, plays softball. There's family there. He's closer to Auburn. There's some things there that I think work in Auburn's favor. But Ohio State's going to be tough to beat here. From everything I've heard, it's not going to be easy. But, this is the week of the Jace Matthews commitment. We're starting to get a little more clarity on that. I think when we get to the week of the Braylon Womack, we will get some more clarity. And I expect Auburn not to back down. I expect Auburn to be heavily invested. I expect Auburn to be there until the announcement.
All right. Well, a lot going on in Auburn world. Guys, go over to Auburn Live where Cole Pinkston, Jeffrey Lee, and the boys have constant updates. A lot going on. It's that time of the year. Cole Pinkston, thanks for dropping by the Inside Scoop today.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me.
All right, here we go. Rivals' number one recruit in the 2027 class is ready to commit on Thursday, August 7th. LaDainian Guyton is going to commit. Now, we got Adam Gorney here, national analyst for Rivals, and we're going to break it down. Let's bring in Adam Gorney. Now, LaDainian Guyton, he's the number one edge in America. We're looking at the Rivals industry rankings now. He's the number 2 player in the industry rankings. He's the number 1 player overall for Rivals. So we're splitting hairs here. But 6'4", 240 pounds out of Savannah, Georgia. What's going on here, Adam? Why is LaDainian Guyton ready to decide on Thursday?
Yeah, the rumor was it might not have taken this long, that he was going to commit in June. That didn't happen. July didn't happen. But now it looks like he's ready. A Savannah kid, Elijah Griffin's teammate. Elijah Griffin's doing well at Georgia already. I don't think any of that matters. I think Texas Tech is the play here. He's been involved with the Red Raiders. He, has been with those guys for a little bit now. This could be a surprise to some who follow the recruiting industry, but in the world of NIL, with James Blanchard out there putting up big money and endless amounts of oil money in Lubbock right now, they're going after big time fish, and this is one of the biggest in the 2027 class.
Yeah, so if you look at it, 2 years ago, it was Micah Hudson. He was the number 2 ranked wide receiver in America. This cycle, it's Felix Ojo, a 5-star offensive tackle that Texas Tech really stole from Texas. I mean, everybody thought he was going there. Everybody heard the rumors about Texas Tech, but now when it comes to LaDainian Guyton, I mean, I looked up the recruiting prediction machine, and I saw Texas Tech at 96%, Georgia at 1.5%. Adam, I was like, okay, we've seen times when the RPM is completely out of whack, but you sound like you agree with the RPM.
This is like Dumb and Dumber when you say, oh, so 1%, so you think we still have a shot here, it still has a chance. No, I think this one has been, I wouldn't say over for a long time, but certainly trending in the Red Raiders direction. And this is impressive, but it also speaks to where we are in recruiting. And I'm not saying that in any sort of negative light. It's just the recruiting reality that we're in now, where NIL deals get done, and those are super important. Texas Tech is coming off an 8-5 season. Joey McGuire's had 2 8-5 seasons and a 7-6 season. But that doesn't, and that's positive. That is moving in a positive direction for Texas Tech. But we've talked about this before too, Josh, that Georgia is going to have to take these lumps. If they're not willing to pony up big money for players, then a guy like LaDainian Guyton, who's from Savannah, which is South Georgia, which is hot Georgia recruiting territory. Traditionally, Kirby Smart cleans up there. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. I think the NIL deal got done. They have basically endless amounts of NIL money on top of rev share money in Lubbock. So I think this is where it's looking like it's almost like a lock at this point.
Wow. Georgia, 1.5% chance, according to the recruiting prediction machine. And for those scoring at home, South Carolina and Alabama have less than 1% chance. So you're telling me there's a shot. All right, so we'll see what happens. Thursday's the big day for LaDainian Guyton, number 1 ranked edge, number 2 overall in the Rivals industry, number 1 overall for Rivals. You guys, you're the real recruiting fans. Talk to recruiting experts. Sorry, you're not fans. You're experts. Just check the comments section. But anyway, Let us know. Where do you think LaDainian Guyton is headed? All right, got me thinking. Why don't we run through the uncommitted prospects in the top 10? There's 8 of them. So let's start at number 1, offensive tackle Kennedy Brown. He goes 6'3.5", 285 pounds. He's out of Houston, Texas. Is it early with him? Which way is he leaning?
Yeah, I would say after multiple visits to Texas over the offseason, that the Longhorns have an edge. Now, he's a Houston kid, so Texas A&M is going to be involved. I wouldn't be surprised if LSU pokes their head in there. But what I've been told by some people is that the Texas NIL guys are not going to let Kennedy Brown out. So I think that's going to play a factor. That's one factor for Texas. Kyle Flood does a phenomenal job all over the country recruiting offensive linemen, not only recruiting them, but developing them for the NFL. Kelvin Banks being the latest example, more on the way coming from that offensive line. Texas is, arguably the best team in college football this year with a quarterback who's going to be a headliner every single week. I think that's going to help them too. So I would put Texas in the the leader spot for Kennedy Brown right now. Let's see how Texas A&M does this year. If they have a sort of a blowout season in Mike Elko's second year, we could revisit this, but I think the Longhorns lead.
I mean, what about Texas Tech? We just talked about number 2, Damian Guyton, Kennedy Brown, premier position inside the state. I mean, could we see Texas Tech get involved here?
Yeah, sure. I'm not counting them out for anybody. We could call it a Felix Ojo move. Maybe he, plays Texas for 11 months and then commits to Texas Tech. So if Kennedy Brown is seen in a hotel in Lubbock in 11 months from now, I would not count out the Red Raiders for anybody. But I think Texas is sort of collecting the monopoly money here to close on Kennedy Brown.
All right. Sliding down the list at number 2 is LaDamian Guyton. We already talked about him. Number 3, we got edge Zyron Forstall. Now, this one's interesting. 6'3", 235 pounds. He's at IMG Academy, but he's from New Orleans. So, number 1 player in the state of Louisiana, technically Florida, but Zion Forstall, what do you think? Where's his recruitment leaning?
Yeah, it still seems early stages for him. And now that he's at IMG, it might even be earlier stages because we'll see how Miami gets involved here, how much they love up on him. Florida will be in this, Florida State. Once you get to IMG, and I think we've seen this from guys that just transferred in there, all the Florida offers start coming in, and the reality that they could just stay in state if they love it there and play big-time college football, they can do that. I've basically been told that LSU is still the team to beat here, and in the end, he probably ends up back in Baton Rouge. Now, we'll see how this plays out. USC is going to put up a fight for him. They went to New Orleans last recruiting cycle to get Jakeem Stewart to basically beat LSU for him. So I think they're going to take a shot on Forstall. They're going to do the whole USC NIL thing, bring him out to LA, put him in a nice hotel, take him to the beach, have steak dinners, all those kinds of things. That might be able to woo him, especially with the money. I think in the end here, though, I think LSU is probably the leader and probably ends up with him.
All right, let's swing over to South Carolina, Fort Mill, South Carolina, where we got number 4 ranked player in the country, Joshua Dobson, an elite corner at 6'1", 170 pounds. What's the early intel on Dobson?
Yeah, still a long list, but from talking to him a bunch of times, just kind of getting a feel for how he kind of handles himself, Clemson is going to play a big factor here. He just got that offer, and it was big time for him. So I think they've sort of shot, maybe not right to the top, but within striking distance, top 3. He's also mentioned South Carolina very, very heavily. So I think they're going to be involved. Both, South Carolina's an hour and a half from home, and Clemson's 2.5 hours, so negligible there. I think Tennessee will play a factor. And then all the big SEC schools are going to be involved. Texas, Florida, Alabama. He's looking at Notre Dame, Ohio State, Miami. There's still a long list of schools, but at the end of the day, I think this ends up sort of being that triangle there of Tennessee, Clemson, South Carolina battling it out for him.
Number 5, we're back to the state of Texas, where we got cornerback John Meredith, built in a lab at 6'2", 175 pounds, out of Arlington, Texas. Is this one that's going to be another heated in-state battle?
Yeah, this is interesting because the more people you talk to, the more it gets split. So the California power coach that I talked to who had him at OT7 said he's built like DJ Pickett, but thicker, which DJ Pickett is getting rave reviews in Baton Rouge already. So Meredith is going to be, a very hot item in this recruiting class. My sense is that Texas has a slight edge over Texas A&M, but A&M is not going anywhere here. So I think Texas is going to battle to the end. A&M is going to battle. I think that's how it's going to play out. Now, if Pickett goes in at Baton Rouge and blows up in a sort of Travis Hunter way and just kind of just becomes all everything in college football, we'll see. And that might interest Meredith because Brian Kelly will be on the phone with him saying he could be the next DJ Pickett. We'll see if that has any influence. I think this is Texas slight edge over A&M right now.
All right. At number 6, I know this one is a battle. Offensive tackle Mark Matthews, 6'5", 300 pounds, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Who are the front runners here?
Yeah, 6'5", 300 pounds, and 2 years ago he was playing on the defensive line. So he's really new to offensive tackle and still a dominant force maybe a little Lamar Brown-like, where he could play either side of the ball, probably projects as an offensive tackle long-term. The in-state schools are going to be battling hard here. I think mainly Florida and Miami. Miami has to keep some of these South Florida kids home after losing Derek Cooper and some others recently. So I think Miami probably has the early edge, but he did take a visit to Oregon that really, really interested him. So if he's willing to travel literally as far as you can go in the continental United States, then that will be interesting to see. But I think in the end, Miami and Florida probably battle it out for him. I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia and Alabama and everybody else gets involved much more heavily down the stretch. But I think the Canes come through here in the end.
All right. At number 7, wide receiver Jameer Brown seems to have found a spot. He's committed to Ohio State, 5'11", 185 pounds out of Wayne, Ohio. Now we're moving to Cedar Hill, Texas, where we have the number 1 defensive lineman in the state of Texas, number 8 overall defensive lineman Jalen Brewster, 6'3", 300, massive prospect. Like I said, out of Cedar Hill, Texas. What's the rundown with Brewster?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because you want to talk about built in a lab. He is like as built as you can be for a defensive lineman. I think Oklahoma holds the edge right now. So Oklahoma is trying to fend off Oregon. He took a visit to Oregon over the summer and absolutely loved it. Loves Dan Lanning as a defensive coach. Loves Tosh Lupoy, the whole thing about Oregon. But Oklahoma got in there early, and I think they're sort of the leader right now. Now, if Brent Venables has another poor year, he's more on the hot seat or worse. We'll see how that changes things. But I think Oklahoma leads. Now, he does go to Cedar Hill, though, and that is the home of current Texas Tech coach Joey McGuire. Obviously has a lot of connections back there. We'll see if they have some money saved up, if they want to get involved in this. But I think it's an Oklahoma leads Oregon battle right now.
Okay, here we come. Number 9, running back Kamon Spell. He is committed to Penn State, 5'10", 200 pounds. He's from Pennsylvania as well. But you think there are some teams that have his attention?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And he continues to say, and it's always intriguing because he says, I'm happily committed to Penn State, all locked up, but I'm taking visits. So
right.
We'll see. Juwan Cedar is at Notre Dame now. He was the old Penn State running backs coach who recruited Spell to State College. Spell is in a no-lose situation here. If he sticks with Penn State, he comes in after Nick Singleton and Katron Allen go to the NFL. Potentially, Penn State, is contending for a national championship this year. That is good. He's going to be playing for Stan Drayton, who's been around the block and has been, everywhere as a running back coach. That is all, interesting for him. But, Notre Dame has Jeremiah Love, and he could be a sort of a sleeper Heisman contender this year. A new quarterback there means Notre Dame might run the ball more than ever. So I think Penn State still probably leads, but there is clearly intrigue there, especially if Love blows up and Cedar really goes after him, which looks like it's going to happen. I think that's really going to be a tough call at the end.
All right, we'll keep an eye on where he ends up this fall, maybe see him pop up at a couple schools. Let's hit on number 10 here, offensive tackle Cooper Hackett. He's out of Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, and he's 6'7", 250 pounds with a frame to add some more weight. What's the deal with Cooper Hackett's recruitment early on?
Yeah, that's the most interesting thing with Hackett is that he still has about easily 30 pounds that he could put on, but he moves so well. I don't know if we've talked about Texas Tech here enough on this video, but Texas Tech is the team to beat. There was a rumor that he was going to be committed by this time already. He's held off. Now, whether that's sort of an NIL figuring out money thing, whether that's Bill Biedenbaugh in Norman saying enough's enough, we're not letting a kid this talented get out of the state. Turning down Oklahoma and playing for Biedenbaugh, who basically churns out offensive linemen to the NFL every single year, is really going to be an interesting proposition. But I think the Red Raiders lead here. If they can close the NIL situation and get him committed, I think they're the team to beat.
All right, there it is. That's intel on the top 10 prospects in the 2027 class. We got to start talking about these guys because LaDainian Guyton's coming off the board Thursday. Adam Gorney, thanks for dropping by the Inside Scoop today.
All right, sounds good, Josh.